The sky above Earth glowed with strange lights, colors that were not from nature, but from alien ships in orbit. Millions of people looked up, knowing this could be their last dawn. Across the continents, screens played the same message, a broadcast from the Alien Council. Their voices were calm but sharp, each word striking fear into the hearts of humans. They declared that humanity's time had ended. Earth had been judged as too dangerous to exist, and the fleets around the planet would carry out the sentence before the day was over. In every city, silence spread after the broadcast. Children clung to parents, soldiers stood frozen, and leaders sat powerless. The alien fleet was massive, thousands of warships forming a ring of steel and fire around the blue planet. Their weapons were charged, their engines glowing, and their commanders were confident. Humanity had fought small wars before, but nothing like this. Against such power, Earth seemed doomed, yet high above, hidden in the shadow of the planet, a single ship remained unseen. It was not part of the official defense fleet. No record of it appeared in Earth's files, and no alien sensor detected it. The ship floated in silence, its dark hull blending with the void. For hours, it had watched as the alien armada gathered. No crew member moved, no light shined from its windows, but deep inside, something stirred. Back on the surface, people whispered about legends of secret Terran warships, built in silence and hidden for years. Some said they were only stories told by veterans of old wars. Others swore they had seen strange vessels move through the night sky, ships that did not match any human design. But no one believed those rumors now. The fleet was too large, too powerful. Humanity was facing extinction. Inside the Alien Council chamber, leaders of many species watched the feed of Earth. Their faces, sharp and inhuman, were twisted with arrogance. One of them leaned forward and said, "They cannot resist. Within one cycle, humanity will be erased." Around the chamber, others nodded. To them, this was not a war, but an execution. But one alien official did not smile. He had studied humans longer than most. His voice trembled as he whispered to the others, "Do you understand what it means to corner them like this? Humanity does not die quietly." His words were ignored, drowned out by laughter and cheers. Up in orbit, the hidden warship finally moved. Its engines glowed faintly, a spark in the darkness. The crew, who had been silent for hours, now prepared in calm unison. Soldiers strapped themselves into battle seats, their armor shining under red emergency lights. No one spoke loudly, only whispers passed between them. Their captain stood at the center, face hard, eyes fixed on the displays. "We only need one chance," he said. On Earth, radar stations suddenly picked up a faint signal. At first, they thought it was an error, but then the reading grew stronger. A ship was there, positioned right between Earth and the alien armada. Soldiers at command posts stared in disbelief. That's not one of ours," a young officer whispered. His commander frowned. "Then what is it?" The answer came too late. The alien fleet also noticed the signal. Dozens of scanners turned, focusing on the dark shape near Earth's shadow. The alien admirals scoffed. "One ship dares to stand against us." To them, it was foolish bravery, nothing more. They readied their weapons to destroy it in one strike, but as their sensors probed deeper, confusion spread. The ship's design did not match any known human vessel. Its weapon systems were hidden, its engine readings unstable, as if it used technology no one had ever seen. One alien commander frowned, his voice uneasy. "This ship, it should not exist." Inside the warship, the human soldiers remained calm. Their systems lit up one by one, consoles glowing, weapons arming. The hull of the ship began to shift, panels opening like the armor of a beast awakening. What looked like empty metal a moment ago now revealed strange weapon mounts, energy cannons unlike anything humans had shown before. The crew sat ready, their faces hard but unshaken. Down on Earth, hope sparked for the first time. People saw the signal on their screens. A single warship, human or not, had chosen to stand. The whispers began again. Could this be one of the legendary Terran ghosts? Could one ship make a difference against an entire armada? Families held each other tighter, staring at the skies, waiting to see what would happen next. The alien council received live feeds of the hidden ship. For the first time, the chamber grew quiet. The same official who had warned them earlier leaned forward, his face pale. "You fools," he whispered. "You don't even understand what you've done." The others ignored him, but the silence in their eyes betrayed fear. The alien fleet locked their weapons on Earth, preparing the final strike. Thousands of cannons charged with light, each one able to burn cities to ash. And yet the strange human warship still did not retreat. Its engines roared louder, its weapons glowed brighter, and its captain whispered the final order, "Let them come." And in that moment, as the fleet's firepower aligned, the dark warship turned its weapons toward the heart of the alien armada. The silence of space seemed to stretch forever. Humanity's last hope or its final mistake was about to be revealed. The screens across Earth flickered. Children held their breath. The alien council leaned forward. And in the shadows of the blue planet, one Terran warship prepared to defy death itself. The alien fleet tightened its formation, their commanders barking orders in a dozen different languages. All weapons were locked on the single Terran warship, drifting in Earth's shadow. To the aliens, it seemed like a hopeless gesture. One ship could not stand against thousands. Yet as scanners continued to probe the vessel, the data made no sense. Its shape shifted with every scan, its armor reflecting light in ways their sensors could not predict. Alien officers grew restless. Reports came in from across the fleet, energy readings unstable, weapon systems unknown, propulsion unlike anything in their archives. "This is not a standard Terran vessel," one commander hissed. "Where did they build it?" No answer came. For centuries, the Council believed they had mapped every human warship design. Yet this ship was different. It was as if it should not exist. Inside the warship, silence ruled. Soldiers sat strapped in their armor, watching as alien beams lit up the void around them. Red warning lights glowed across the control deck, but the captain stood calm. His voice cut through the tension like steel. "They think we are only one ship. They are wrong." The crew knew the truth. This was no ordinary Terran ship. It was not even meant for standard war. It was a prototype, a weapon forged in secrecy. The project had been buried in Earth's darkest files, erased from history, known only to a handful of leaders who feared what it could become. Yet when the alien armada surrounded Earth, the order was clear. Release the ghost. The alien council chamber buzzed with debate as live images of the vessel appeared on their displays. Some council members laughed at the human's last toy, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One elder alien, his skin pale and scarred from past wars, slammed his hand on the table. "Do you not feel it? That ship is wrong. It is not defense. It is a weapon of something else." His words were ignored. Back in orbit, the first strike came. Dozens of alien warships fired beams of burning light, each powerful enough to melt a city. They crashed into the dark Terran vessel with a blinding flash. For a moment, the ship was lost in the glow. On Earth, people screamed, believing their last hope had been destroyed. But then the light cleared. The warship still floated untouched. Its hull shimmered with energy patterns no one understood. Alien admirals leaned forward in shock. "Impossible." Inside, the captain watched the displays calmly. "Shields holding," his officer reported, though even she could not believe it. "Return silence," the captain ordered. The ship did not fire back immediately. It simply waited, absorbing the alien attack as if studying its enemy. The patience unnerved the fleet. Finally, the ship moved. Not fast, not loud, but smooth, like a shadow sliding through the void. In an instant, it vanished from alien targeting systems. Panicked voices echoed across the comms. "We lost it! Where is it?" Moments later, alarms blared as one alien dreadnought exploded, torn apart from the inside. No missile had been launched, no beam fired, yet the Terran warship had already struck. On Earth, people watching the feeds gasped. "How did they do that?" whispered one soldier. Leaders in underground bunkers exchanged glances. Even they did not fully understand what this prototype carried. It was built in secret, funded in silence, designed for a war no one admitted was coming. And now its true purpose was revealed before the entire galaxy. The alien council chamber fell into chaos. The smug laughter was gone, replaced by fear. "This is not possible," one shouted. Another demanded, "How many of these ships do they have?" No answer came. Across the galaxy, species that had once mocked humanity now leaned forward, fear spreading through their empires. If this was one Terran ship, what else were humans hiding? Inside the warship, the captain's voice was steady. "Target the next one." Panels on the hull shifted, revealing hidden weapons. Strange cannons glowed, their energy colors unlike any alien design. The ship's AI hummed with a deep tone, as if alive, as if angry. Soldiers gripped their seats, their faces set. They were not afraid. They knew this was humanity's last chance, and they would make it count. Alien fleets fired again, desperate to crush the ghost. But the ship weaved through beams, faster than their sensors could track. It struck again, ripping through another battleship. Sparks filled the alien council chamber as feeds cut off mid-scream. Silence followed, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt something it thought forgotten. Fear of humanity. On Earth, the people watching dared to hope. One child whispered to his mother, "They can fight back." Across the planet, the spark of belief spread. Humanity, written off as doomed, now had one warship defying death itself. But inside the Terran ship, not all was calm. Warning lights flashed. The weapons were strong, but the enemy fleet was endless. The captain knew this was only the beginning. His voice was low, meant only for his crew. "They think we are only a shadow. Let them keep thinking that. The real storm is not here yet." As the alien fleet regrouped, preparing for another strike, the Terran ship's hull shifted once more. Hidden compartments opened, showing weapons no human had ever dared reveal. The alien commanders stared in disbelief. What are those?" The warship glowed brighter, its engines roaring, its weapons charging. The void itself seemed to tremble. And then, with a cold silence, it aimed directly at the enemy flagship. The alien admirals froze. For the first time, they felt hunted. The screen across Earth flickered again. Every eye was fixed on that single ship, every breath held in suspense. And as the warship prepared to unleash its hidden power, one truth became clear. Humanity's fight was only beginning. The alien fleet shifted uneasily in orbit. Thousands of warships hanging like a wall of steel around Earth. They had come expecting a simple execution, but now the battlefield was filled with whispers of fear. One Terran ship had already done the impossible. 2 dreadnoughts, each the pride of alien engineering, lay broken wrecks drifting in silence. The Council's grand armada, meant to inspire terror, suddenly looked fragile. Inside the alien command carrier, officers shouted over one another. How did it bypass shields? Why can't we track its weapons? Where did humanity build such a thing? The Admiral slammed his claws on the table, eyes burning. It doesn't matter. Overwhelm it. One ship cannot fight us all. His order was echoed across the fleet. Thousands of targeting systems locked on the lone Terran vessel, preparing to unleash a storm of fire. On Earth, the people held their breath. In bunkers and cities, in fields and crowded towers, eyes were fixed on screens showing the last defense of their world. Parents clutched children. Soldiers gripped rifles they would never fire. Hope and terror battled in every heart. Could one ship really hold back an empire? Inside the Terran warship, the crew braced. The captain stood tall in the red glow of the command deck, his voice steady. "They will fire all at once, let them. They don't understand us yet." Around him, soldiers tightened their straps, eyes sharp. One whispered, "This is madness." Another replied coldly, "No, this is humanity." Then it began. A storm of beams and missiles filled space. Thousands of weapons fired in perfect unison. The void lit up brighter than a sun. The glow reflected even on Earth's oceans. People screamed, believing the warship had been destroyed. The alien fleet cheered, their confidence returning, but the cheers died too soon. As the light cleared, the Terran ship was gone, vanished. Scanners went wild, searching desperately. "We lost it again!" cried alien officers. "Where is it?" In panic, they fired into empty space, weapons slashing at shadows. Then silence fell. A new alarm blared. One of the fleet's flagships shuddered violently. The crew inside barely had time to scream before the massive vessel tore apart, ripped open by an unseen force. Gasps echoed across the galaxy as live feeds cut in and out. Viewers watched in disbelief as explosions bloomed across the alien line. The Terran warship reappeared for only a heartbeat, sliding like a phantom through wreckage, then vanished again. Alien commanders shouted in rage. "It's inside our lines! Track it, track it!" But their technology was blind. On Earth, hope grew sharper. Families cheered through tears. For the first time since the invasion began, people believed survival was possible. Yet inside the ship, the crew did not celebrate. Their faces were grim, their focus unbroken. The captain's voice was calm. "They fear us now. Good. Fear makes them clumsy." His second officer frowned. "But, sir, we cannot fight them all." The captain did not look away from the stars. "We don't have to. We only need to break them." Back in the alien council chamber, panic spread. Leaders demanded answers from their admirals. How is one human ship tearing apart a fleet of thousands? One official slammed his fist on the table. "This is not war. This is slaughter." Another whispered the words no one wanted to say. "If one ship can do this, what if there are more?" The elder who had warned them before spoke again, his voice low and trembling. "You mocked them. You thought they were weak. But humanity has always been this way. The quieter they are, the more dangerous they become." His words sent a shiver through the chamber. For the first time, the council truly feared. In orbit, the alien fleet tried to regroup, forming tighter formations. Warships circled together, shields overlapping. But their caution was too late. The Terran warship struck again, unleashing weapons no one understood. A pulse of light, silent and invisible, rippled through the void. Alien engines died, shields flickered, and 3 more battleships spun helplessly, drifting dead before they were torn apart by a second strike. The void was filled with wreckage now, fireballs reflecting off Earth's surface. Alien soldiers screamed in panic across open comms. The Council's unstoppable armada was being cut apart by a single vessel. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Inside the human warship, the crew felt the ship itself hum with energy, alive and hungry. Its weapons had awakened fully, systems that even they barely understood. One soldier whispered nervously, "What have we unleashed?" The captain's eyes were cold. What was always meant to be, but even victory carried a price. Warning lights flashed across the consoles. The ship was strong, but the endless fire was wearing it down. Energy reserves strained, shields cracked under the constant storm. The crew exchanged looks, knowing the truth. They could not last forever. The captain tightened his grip on the command rail. "Prepare the next move. We strike at their heart." His crew nodded, their fear replaced by steel. The ship's engines roared to life again, pushing it straight toward the alien command carrier. Alien admirals inside the massive flagship watched in horror as the Terran vessel broke through their lines like a blade through glass. Desperate, they ordered every ship to fire. Thousands of weapons locked on the single target. Space filled with deadly light once more. And then, just before impact, the Terran warship disappeared into the shadows again. Only silence remained. The alien admirals froze, eyes wide, breaths held. Then the carrier's walls shook violently. Explosions ripped through the corridors. Officers screamed as alarms wailed. One shouted in terror, "It's inside the hull!" On Earth, screens flickered with static. The live feed cut out as the Terran warship vanished into the enemy flagship itself. No one knew what would come next. The galaxy waited, breathless. The alien command carrier shuddered in orbit, its walls trembling as explosions rippled through its hull. Inside, alarms screamed, corridors filled with smoke, and soldiers ran in panic. The Terran warship had vanished into the giant vessel, moving like a shadow in its belly. No one understood how it pierced the shields. No one understood how it avoided their scanners. But everyone knew one truth. It was already too late. On the bridge of the carrier, alien admirals tried to keep order.
"Seal the decks!
Flood the chambers with fire! Crush it from the inside." But their commands were met with silence, then screams, then static. Whole squads of soldiers were being wiped out without ever seeing the enemy. The Terran ship was tearing apart their flagship from within. On Earth, the live feeds returned in fragments. Broken signals showed flashes of the carrier's insides, explosions blooming in steel corridors, alien soldiers firing blindly at shadows, officers screaming as bulkheads collapsed. The world watched, stunned, as one human warship brought terror to the heart of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. In the Galactic Council chamber, the silence was unbearable. Leaders of dozens of species stared at the unfolding disaster, their faces pale with fear. Hours before, they had laughed at the thought of humans resisting. Now their laughter was gone. The elder alien who had warned them earlier leaned forward, voice cold and sharp. "Do you understand now? Do you see why humanity was never to be provoked?" One council member shouted back in anger, trying to hide his terror. "It's only one ship. Crush it and humanity will fall as planned." But his words sounded weak. Everyone in the chamber had seen what that single ship could do. If one vessel could destroy their pride, what would more of them mean? Inside the Terran warship, the crew worked without fear. Their eyes were steady, their hands swift. Every strike they made was calculated, every weapon unleashed with precision. The captain's voice was calm, almost cold. "We cut out the head and the body will fall. Target their bridge." The ship responded, its systems humming as if alive, guiding itself deeper through the carrier's heart. Alien officers in the carrier's bridge felt the ship tremble around them. One whispered, "It's coming here." The admiral glared at him, but said nothing because he felt it too. The shadow was moving toward them. Then the lights flickered, and for a moment, total darkness fell across the command center. In that silence, they all heard it. The groan of metal as something massive moved through the decks below. Back on Earth, people clung to each other, unable to look away from the broken feeds. A mother whispered to her child, "They're fighting for us." The boy's eyes widened as another explosion tore through the alien flagship. "Are they winning?" She had no answer. The Galactic Council's fear spread faster than fire. Some demanded a retreat, others called for reinforcements from other systems. But one truth bound them all. Humanity was no longer the weak race they had mocked. A species they had considered prey was showing teeth sharper than any predator. And those teeth were tearing into the galaxy's strongest fleet. Inside the carrier, the bridge doors shook violently. Alarms wailed, sparks showered, and the walls buckled as something pressed against them. Officers screamed. The admiral drew his blade, though he knew it was useless. His last words echoed across the chamber. "This cannot be how it ends." Then the doors blew inward, fire and smoke swallowing the bridge. In the void outside, the alien fleet broke formation. Ships panicked, scattering like frightened animals. Their commanders shouted for discipline, but fear had already taken hold. The Terran warship burst from the burning hull of the carrier, glowing with battle scars, but alive. Behind it, the alien command ship split in half, flames consuming its massive frame. Earth erupted in cheers. Across the planet, humans screamed with joy and disbelief. The invincible fleet of the Alien Council had lost its heart to one Terran vessel. For the first time since the war began, humanity dared to hope not only for survival, but for victory. Yet the crew of the Terran ship did not celebrate. Their faces were hard, their captain silent. They knew what came next. The destruction of the command carrier was only the beginning. The galaxy would not forgive. The war had only started. In the council chamber, fear turned to rage. "Exterminate them now!" one leader bellowed. "No mercy! Burn their planet!" Others shouted in agreement, but their voices trembled. They had seen something they could not unsee, the power of humanity's hidden hand. The elder alien lowered his head, whispering words only a few could hear. "You have woken the storm." The Terran warship floated before Earth, its weapons glowing once more. Inside, the captain looked at his crew. "They will come harder now. They will send everything they have. We cannot stop it alone." His words made the room heavy. The soldiers stared back at him, understanding the weight. Then he added, his voice low and sharp, "But we were never meant to be alone. Across the solar system, silent stations stirred. Hidden platforms, long thought abandoned, flickered with life. Light spread across the void like fireflies awakening in darkness. And deep in the shadows of Jupiter's moons, massive shapes began to move. The galaxy would soon learn a truth it had never imagined. The Terran warship was not humanity's last hope. It was only the first. The galaxy shook from the fall of the alien command carrier. Billions across distant worlds watched in silence, their faith in the Council's strength broken. No one had ever imagined such a defeat, and yet it had come from a single Terran warship. Rumors spread faster than light. If one ship could do this, what else was Earth hiding? Inside the Galactic Council chamber, fear turned to suspicion. Leaders accused each other of withholding intelligence. "You told us humanity was weak," one shouted. "You swore their fleets were primitive." Another slammed his claws on the table. "They should have been crushed centuries ago. Why do they still have weapons we cannot explain?" The room erupted into chaos, but beneath the shouting was something worse, quiet dread. On Earth, the people cheered through tears, but the war was not over. The alien fleet still surrounded their planet, and more reinforcements were on the way. Humanity had won a battle, not the war, yet whispers spread among soldiers and civilians alike. They spoke of old projects, hidden ships, and secret weapons buried deep in Earth's past. They called them the shadows of old Earth. Inside the Terran warship, the crew worked quickly to repair damage. Smoke lingered in corridors, hull plates glowed with burns, and energy reserves ran low. But the soldiers did not falter. Their captain stood firm, his voice steady. "We showed them a glimpse of what we carry. That was enough. Now they will come with everything. And now, we show them what they fear most." One of the younger soldiers asked, his voice trembling, "What are we, sir?" "This ship, it feels alive." The captain looked at him for a long moment. Then he answered softly, "We are the shadows they tried to erase. Weapons they swore would never be used. But Earth does not forget. Far across the solar system, hidden stations began to stir. They were relics from an older time, when humanity fought wars not against aliens, but against itself. Massive bunkers built into asteroids lit up after centuries of silence. Deep under the ice of Europa, signals pulsed from buried command centers. And beyond Neptune, in the dark where sunlight could not reach, shapes began to move. Warships older than any Council empire awakened from their slumber. Alien sensors soon picked up the activity. Commanders gasped as new contacts appeared across their star maps. "More human vessels?" one asked in disbelief. "But these readings, they are ancient." Their officers stared at the displays in horror. Ancient or not, they are moving. The council chamber froze as reports arrived. One leader shouted, "Impossible! We destroyed their records. We burned their archives. How can these ships still exist?" The elder alien who had warned them earlier finally spoke, his voice like stone. "Because humanity does not destroy its past. They bury it, and when the time comes, they unearth it." Inside the Terran warship, the crew received the same signals. Old codes flickered across their screens, messages written in languages from centuries before. One soldier whispered, "They're answering us." The captain allowed himself a thin smile. "Good. Let the galaxy see. Let them understand what humanity truly is." Meanwhile, the alien fleet prepared another strike. Admirals barked orders, demanding that all fire be focused on the Terran ship before reinforcements could arrive. Thousands of cannons charged once more, aiming to erase Earth and its defenders in one final blaze. The captain watched the lights build on his displays, the enemy preparing their storm. He knew his ship could not withstand another full barrage, but he also knew he was no longer alone. He raised his hand, giving a single command: "Activate the shadows." From the dark edge of the system, the hidden warships came alive. Giant hulls drifted forward, their ancient armor thick, their weapons glowing with strange power. These were not ordinary vessels. They were prototypes, abandoned projects, experiments humanity had once feared to unleash on itself. Now they rose again, answering the call of survival. Alien officers screamed as the new contacts multiplied. There are dozens, no hundreds. They were buried across the system. How did we never see them? The answer was bitter. Humanity had hidden its greatest weapons not in pride, but in shame, buried so deep that even their enemies had believed them gone. And now, those shadows of old Earth had returned. On Earth, people fell to their knees, watching as massive shapes appeared in the sky, revealed by the rising sun. Ancient warships moved above the planet, their dark forms blotting out the stars. To the terrified citizens, they looked like ghosts rising from the past. To the soldiers, they looked like hope, but with hope came fear. These were ships built for total war, carrying weapons even humanity had forgotten. If unleashed, they could save Earth or destroy it completely. In the council chamber, the leaders stood pale and silent. At last, one whispered the thought that froze the room. If this is what they buried, what else do they still hide? Inside the Terran warship, the captain stared at the growing fleet of ancient vessels. His voice was heavy, almost sorrowful. "We asked for help. The dead have answered." His crew shifted uneasily. Understanding what that meant, the alien fleet opened fire, a storm of light streaking toward Earth. The captain gave the order, his voice sharp as steel. "Release the shadows." And then the dark warships of old Earth powered their weapons, glowing brighter than suns, ready to strike. The galaxy braced for what came next. The void above Earth burned with light. Alien cannons roared, thousands of beams slicing through the dark. Missiles streaked across space, fire trailing behind them like falling stars. The sky itself seemed to collapse under the weight of the enemy's fury. Yet the Terran warship did not face the storm alone anymore. Around it, the ancient vessels of old Earth came alive, their engines igniting after centuries of silence, from hidden stations, from frozen moons, from the graveyards of forgotten battles. The shadows had risen. Their hulls were scarred and ancient, their designs unfamiliar even to human eyes. Yet when they moved, the galaxy trembled. These ships carried weapons built not for defense, but for survival at any cost. Weapons humans had once sworn never to use. The alien fleet fired with everything it had. Energy waves slammed into the first of the ancient Terran ships, but instead of falling apart, its hull shimmered, bending the beams like water. Then with a groan that echoed through the void, the old warship answered. Its weapons were strange, pulsing with colors no alien had ever seen. A single shot fired, and an entire alien cruiser vanished, not destroyed, but erased as if it had never existed. Gasps filled the alien council chamber as the feed cut to static. Leaders stood in shock, unable to speak. What was that?" One whispered. Another stared at the screen in horror. That was not a weapon. That was something else. Inside the Terran flagship, even the crew felt uneasy. Soldiers watched as the old ships fired again, tearing through the alien armada with terrifying precision. "Captain," one whispered, "these aren't warships. There's something more." The captain's face was grim. They were never meant for battle. They were experiments, secrets buried so humanity could survive its own past. Now the galaxy will see what we buried. The alien fleet began to break. Dozens of warships fled formation, scattering into the void, their commanders screaming in panic. But others stayed, determined to finish the mission. They launched wave after wave of fire, trying to overwhelm the Terran forces. One of the ancient ships took a direct hit. Its armor cracked, light pouring from its wounds. But instead of dying, the vessel's systems changed. Its hull shifted, reshaping itself like a living creature. The damage sealed shut, and the ship grew brighter, its weapons burning hotter. Soldiers in the Terran flagship watched in awe. "It heals itself," one said in disbelief. On Earth, the people stared at the skies. The old ships blotted out the stars, their strange forms glowing like phantoms. Some citizens cheered, but many trembled. These were not symbols of hope alone. They were reminders of a past humanity had tried to forget. In the council chamber, the elder alien who had warned them before spoke again, his voice sharp. "You thought humans were weak because they hid their weapons. You fools. They hid them not because they were weak, but because they were too strong." His words cut through the silence. The other council members said nothing. They could not deny what they saw. Inside the Terran warship, the captain watched carefully. He knew the danger. These shadows were unpredictable. If pushed too far, they could destroy not just the enemy, but Earth itself. "We must control them," he said quietly. His second officer frowned. "And if we cannot?" The captain's eyes darkened. "Then we fall with them." The alien admirals made one final desperate move. They gathered their remaining flagships, charging their weapons for a combined strike that could vaporize even the shadows. Thousands of cannons glowed, their energy shaking the void. This was their last chance to crush humanity before the ancient fleet could fully awaken. The Terran captain saw the readings on his display. His voice was calm, steady, but his crew could hear the weight in it. "If they unleash that barrage, even the shadows will burn." One soldier whispered, "Then we are finished." But the captain shook his head. "No, there is still one card left." He activated a sequence hidden deep within his ship's systems, one even his crew did not know existed. Panels lit up, codes scrolled across the displays, and the warship itself seemed to shiver. "Captain," the officer asked, alarmed, "what is this?" He did not answer. His eyes were locked on the void. The secret within. On Earth, radar stations picked up new signals. Something beneath the planet's surface stirred. Massive energy readings rising from deep underground. Civilians felt tremors as ancient vaults cracked open, long-buried machines awakening after centuries of silence. In the council chamber, panic erupted as the new signals appeared. "No, it cannot be." They had nothing left. But the elder alien only closed his eyes. "You never understood them. Humanity never shows its full hand. Not until the last moment." The Terran flagship systems roared as the hidden code completed. Beneath its hull, new weapons emerged, weapons even its crew had never seen. The captain's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "We carry not just firepower. We carry history itself." And then the ground beneath Earth began to split, glowing with light as something vast prepared to rise. The galaxy stared in silence, waiting for the nightmare humanity had kept hidden for centuries to finally reveal itself. The void above Earth was no longer silent. The alien fleet's cannons blazed with fire, their weapons burning hotter than suns. Yet their strikes fell short, deflected or consumed by the ancient Terran vessels. The shadows of old Earth fought back with terrifying precision, each shot cutting through alien hulls like paper. The battle became a storm of light, a storm that shook the entire galaxy, but then suddenly the human warships stopped firing. The ancient vessels fell silent, their glowing weapons fading into darkness. Even the Terran flagship halted, drifting quietly in orbit. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet hesitated. Admirals barked orders, demanding their ships press the attack, but none of the crews obeyed. Fear gripped them. The silence of the Terran fleet was heavier than the sound of battle. Why had humanity stopped? What were they waiting for? On Earth, billions stared at the skies. The people saw the warships above, quiet and unmoving, and wondered the same thing. "Why don't they finish it?" whispered a child in a bunker. "Why aren't they striking?" His father only shook his head. He had no answer. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. Some leaders screamed for reinforcements, others begged for retreat. But one voice, calm and sharp, silenced them all, the elder alien who had warned them since the beginning. His words echoed across the chamber. "This is worse than battle. Do you not understand? Silence is the weapon of humanity." Confusion spread among the council members. He explained, his eyes cold. "When humans are quiet, it means they are waiting. It means they have already prepared the next blow. And when it comes, it will not be a strike you can survive." His words sent shivers through the room. Inside the Terran flagship, the captain stood at the center of the command deck, eyes locked on the stars. His crew looked uneasy. One officer asked, "Sir, why aren't we firing?" The captain's voice was low, steady. "Because they already know we can. Fear will do what weapons cannot." The alien fleet grew restless. Some ships began to retreat, drifting back toward the outer rim. Others held their position, waiting for orders, their crews trembling. The admirals tried to rally them, but even their voices shook. They had seen the impossible. The strongest fleet in the galaxy, cut apart by a single ship, then broken by shadows from Earth's past. Now silence felt more dangerous than fire. On Earth, whispers spread like fire. Citizens wondered if the Terran fleet was broken, or if something larger was unfolding. Scientists in hidden bunkers stared at readings from beneath the planet's crust. Energy surged from deep underground, from vaults sealed for centuries. They realized the truth. The warships above were not the only defense. Humanity's greatest weapon was still waiting to rise. In orbit, the alien commanders tried one last move. They sent a small squadron forward, daring the silent Terran vessels to react. The ships edged closer, weapons charged. The void trembled with tension, but the human fleet did not move. The squadron pushed farther, closing the gap. Then, without warning, one of the alien vessels collapsed in on itself, crumpling like tin. No weapon had fired, no beam had been seen. It was as if the ship had been erased by the silence itself. The alien squadron broke instantly, fleeing back to the safety of the main fleet. Panic spread again, and the admirals shouted in desperation. But the damage was done. Fear now ruled their crews. In the council chamber, one young leader slammed his fists on the table. This cannot be real. Humanity is only one world, one planet. How can they fight us all? The elder alien's answer chilled them. Because they are not fighting us. They are showing us what comes if we continue. His eyes narrowed. This silence is not surrender. It is a warning. Inside the Terran flagship, the captain finally spoke again. His voice carried through the ship, firm and unyielding. Let them feel it. Let them see the stillness of Earth. When they break, then we strike. His soldiers nodded, though unease lingered in their eyes. They trusted their captain, but the silence weighed on them too. On Earth, the tremors grew stronger. Cities shook, oceans rippled, mountains cracked as hidden machines deep below stirred. The people feared what was waking, but they also prayed it would be their salvation. Above, the alien fleet began to crumble. Ships drifted out of formation, crews abandoning orders, some vessels fleeing entirely. The silence of humanity had broken them more than any weapon could, but in the command deck of the Terran flagship, the captain's displays lit up with new signals. The energy readings from below Earth's crust were spiking beyond control. His officer whispered, "Sir, something is rising." The captain's face darkened. He had hoped the silence would be enough. But now Earth itself was awakening. The secret buried beneath humanity's homeworld was about to emerge. In the council chamber, the leaders saw the same readings. Terror froze them in place. One finally whispered, if this is what they buried on their planet, then the galaxy is already lost. The skies above Earth glowed, cracks of light splitting the darkness as something massive pushed upward from beneath the crust. The Terran captain whispered the words that carried into the silence. They thought the war was with our ships. Now they will see what Earth itself carries. The light grew brighter, shaking the void. And then the surface of the planet split open. The skies above Earth tore apart in fire and light. The ground itself split, mountains crumbled, oceans heaved as something vast rose from beneath the crust. Billions of people stared upward, their screams mixing with awe. This was not a ship built in orbit, not a station floating in the dark. It was Earth itself giving birth to its oldest secret. From the depths rose machines so colossal they defied belief. Towering warforms, larger than cities, shaped like armored titans, each one bristling with weapons no one had ever seen. Their armor gleamed with strange alloys, darker than space, etched with glowing lines that pulsed like veins. They were not just war machines. They were relics of humanity's forgotten age, buried to sleep until the world itself called them forth. The alien fleet froze. Admirals shouted, their voices cracking, but no one moved. Even their most powerful dreadnoughts seemed like toys against these giants rising from the earth. One alien officer whispered in terror, "They are not ships. They are planets of war." In the Galactic Council chamber, silence fell heavy as stone. Leaders who once laughed now trembled, their faces drained of color. The elder alien leaned forward, his voice sharp and cold. "Do you see now? Humanity never hides because it is weak. Humanity hides because it is preparing. And when it is ready, the galaxy burns. The Terran flagship hovered in orbit, its captain watching as the Titans rose. His crew stared in awe, their eyes wide with both fear and hope. One soldier whispered, "Sir, we were never alone." The captain nodded slowly. No, this was always the truth. The one ship was only the spark. The fire has been waiting all along. The alien fleet tried to rally. Thousands of weapons locked on the rising giants. Missiles and beams streaking down toward Earth. The first wave of fire crashed against the colossal warforms, yet the beams scattered. The missiles broke apart in mid-flight, as if the very air refused to let them touch the machines. The Titans raised their weapons, glowing brighter than suns, and answered. Bolts of pure energy erupted, slicing through alien dreadnoughts like paper. Whole squadrons vanished in single strikes. Where once the galaxy's mightiest fleet had stood, now only wreckage burned. Panic spread like wildfire. Alien ships fled in every direction, their commanders abandoning the battle, desperate only to survive. On Earth, cheers and sobs filled every city. For the first time in history, humanity saw its ancient shadows rise not as myths, but as saviors. Families held each other, knowing the war was far from over, but also knowing one truth: humanity had never been doomed. Humanity had only been waiting. But inside the Terran flagship, the captain's face was grave. He saw what others did not. The Titans were powerful, but they were not controlled. They had minds of their own, forged from ancient designs humanity had long buried. If they chose to protect Earth, salvation was at hand. If not, the world could burn by its own forgotten creations. The council chamber erupted in fear. One voice cried out, "We must destroy Earth now before these things spread." Another shouted, "Retreat! Seal the borders of the galaxy." But no plan could erase the truth. The council's strongest fleet had been shattered, their empire broken by what they thought was only one doomed planet. In the void, the Terran captain gave his crew a single order: signal the Titans. Codes were sent, signals older than memory, passed from one age of humanity to another. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the colossal warforms turned their heads, their glowing eyes fixed on the Terran flagship, and the captain whispered, "They remember." The galaxy watched as the giants of Earth formed a circle, their weapons glowing, their presence shaking space itself. Humanity, mocked and underestimated, now stood at the center of a force that no empire could match. The silence returned, heavy and sharp, but this time it carried a message the galaxy could not ignore. On distant worlds, alien children asked their parents in fear, "Will humanity come for us too?" No one answered. No one could. The elder alien in the council chamber whispered words that froze his peers. The war is already lost. The question is not if humanity will rise. The question is, how far will they go? Above Earth, the Terran captain closed his eyes, hearing the hum of the Titans, feeling the weight of his people's history pressing on his shoulders. When he opened them again, his voice was steel. They came to erase us. Now the galaxy will remember us. The Titans raised their weapons, the Terran fleet lit its engines, and Earth itself glowed as though alive. The galaxy held its breath, every species, every empire watching, waiting for the first move of humanity's unstoppable march. And then, as the alien council stared in horror, the human fleet turned, not to defend Earth, but to advance into the stars. The message was clear: humanity was coming.